back to the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. I'm your host, Gina, aka Gina Marie Fit, and y'all, we're coming clean on today's podcast. I have been dealing with a serious amount of fear and imposter syndrome, and it really has elevated in the last week. And so that's why today's podcast is titled, It's Lonely at the Top, ... or is it? And I feel like when you talk to people, a common denominator is that it is really lonely when you are in a position of leadership or power. And I've been reading a bunch of research articles about this the last week and listening to a ton of podcasts. 53% of women reported that they felt lonely in their leadership role. Y'all, 53% of women felt lonely in their leadership role. And I resonated with this so much. Because of that number and that statistic, women are at an increased risk for health issues, disengagement, discrimination, microaggressions, cognitive and emotional overload. And so when I was doing my research on just trying to be a better leader, and really, I'm still healing from a toxic work environment while still accepting being in a leadership role now. It is a lot of stress, and it is a lot of second guessing, and it is a lot of unconscious thoughts and literally reliving situation after situation, thinking, could I have handled that better? Should I have said this? What should I have done? And when you come from a toxic work environment, I really underestimated how much it affected me. And I didn't really recognize just how much it affected me until last week. So last week was the week that my official announcement video went out as head coach of Body Fit Training. And as excited as I was, because I actually wrote the vision. So months ago, when they told us we were going to do this, we had all figured out how we wanted to do this. I had come up with a vision, and it was really important for me and my video to showcase who I am. Not as a trainer, not as a physique. It's not for me. I do what I do, not for the physical. And so I really wanted to showcase that I am a multifaceted person that is really involved in their community, has various jobs, has various skills. I really wanted to just showcase who I was as a person and why I have earned the role that I am in. And we made the video. One of my friends, Laura, helped me make it. She filmed it. I had tried to film it on my own, and with my speech and just how my brain is, if I can't see myself, I have a very hard time doing things. And so she filmed it for me. She did a great edit. She everything I asked for was perfect. And we posted it on Friday. And I honestly was terrified to click post. And I realized that I have not fully healed from my past experiences because I was terrified to let that post go up, because I knew that there would be people that would be happy for me and there would be people that were judging me. And I got both sides, let me tell you. And I was so excited to share it. I was so proud of that video. I feel so proud to be in the position I'm in. I'm so grateful to be under the ownership that I am a part of. And I really can see myself growing and developing because of this organization. And that's exactly what I wanted last year when I was deciding between the job offers I had. But I know that not everybody can be happy for your success. And I know that not everybody has had positive things to say about me. What's difficult and tricky when you're in a toxic work environment is that when you're in the thick of it, it does bring out the worst, and I feel in everybody. And so a big part of what I wanted to do after I transitioned from the 2 roles I was in last year to 2 different roles this year was that I really wanted to take the steps to heal, because I know imposter syndrome is going to keep coming up for me. And I wanted to develop a system that I could continually overcome these thoughts, patterns, and emotions so that I could keep stepping into my power. And so being a female in leadership really does come at a cost. And research is proving that women have experience greater loneliness because they lack authenticity. A big part of some of the research articles I had read was talking about how women aren't really assertive, authoritarian type people. And because of that, they feel like when they are being assertive, that it isn't in their natural, authentic self. Or if they have to be more assertive and they don't have that like emotional, supportive, that side, that they somehow are like presenting a falsified narrative. And so I was reading a lot about steps and things people can take to overcome this. And something for me is kind of what I keep going back to. And so if you're in a situation, whether you're moving forward, you're in one, or you're trying to get past one, if you're in a toxic work environment, there's like a lot of things you can do. But my basic list is this. And this is what I had to go back to on Friday when I kind of like internally freaked out after posting that because I didn't know what the response was going to be like. The first thing that's really important when you're in an environment that is not conducive to your health is that you provide yourself time to recover. So after you're able to move forward, it's really important that you take downtime. And for me, I didn't teach for, 6, maybe 8 months. I honestly, like, math is so hard still, but I really did take time away from personal training, in person, group fitness classes. It takes so much of your energy. And I really wanted to decide what was going to be right for me. And the next thing that's really important, and thanks to some of my wonderful friends on Friday, you have to recognize your worth and you can't apologize for it. I think what's so hard for me is that I can always be the hardest worker in the room. And one of the negatives of this episode is we're going to talk about being a workaholic. So one of the unforeseen circumstances or situations that comes from being a driven woman in leadership is that I don't stop. Because I feel like because I'm a woman, I feel like I continually have to prove myself. I honestly think it's harder to gain people's respect when you're a woman in leadership, especially when like your people that you're in charge of are your peers. And so I will really struggle with my worth, and I will continually do the most to justify in my head that I belong. The third thing that's really important as you're progressing through this experience is that you review what you learned. For me, and especially at the end of my role last year, I didn't like who I had become. And so I really learned from that situation what stress and bad management can really do to somebody and how it affected me. And then I took those issues and concerns that I was struggling with because of that, and I really focused on not being that kind of person. For me and my staff, when we went into coach training, I really wanted to kick it off with a personal way. And so I made everybody like goodie bags for the weekend. I made everybody customized t-shirts. Like, I really did want them to feel welcomed. I know it's an exhausting weekend, and I wanted to do more than had ever been done for me. And that's really where I come from in a position of leadership, and how I lead is that I want to do more than what's ever been done for me, so that I create a new standard, an elevated standard for the people that come after me. And so when I was really thinking about what I wanted to do differently, I really wanted this time to lead from the front, lead by example, honestly. And so I'll never ask a staff member to do something I'm not willing to do. I open, I close, I go to events, I'm doing marketing, I'm out there, like going out and about meeting vendors. I will never ask any of my staff to do something I wouldn't do. Tonight, as before I was filming this podcast, I went to the studio and ran a workout. We have a different workout tomorrow in a different scenario. And because our studio opened when it did, we're not participating in both parts of tomorrow's workout. And so I wanted to go run the workout, check out the setup, and make sure that they would be good to go for this week. And so it's things like that, or little things when somebody has a question or they need to call me and it's a day I'm off. I'm always going to pick up the phone for my staff because I genuinely want to support them in all aspects of their life. Or when something happens to a staff member. One of my staff members had an incident last week. They were in a car accident. And so, what did I do? I modified my schedule. I stepped in and I made sure that they felt supported and that they knew that work was the last thing they needed to stress about. And I choose to be like this because this is what I would want in a leader. And now that I have a new boss, and he and his wife are fantastic bosses, we have great leadership at our studio. They've really inspired me to do the absolute most because I know they appreciate everybody's efforts. And so when you really want to review what you learned, don't just review the negative, review the positives too, and incorporate both of what you've learned from aspects into your new position. Another thing you can decide to do is decide who to keep. This is the hardest part of my job. And at our coaching organization, my first round of evaluations are going to be coming up. It is extremely hard to have to tell somebody when they're doing something wrong, or when somebody's actions don't align with what's best for the organization. You have to fire somebody. When I had to fire somebody last year, I cried. I cried after it was done because you know that you are going to break somebody's spirit. But also the drill sergeant in me, the military child in me, if you told me that the job needs to be done X, Y, Z, and it's clearly explained and somebody does not follow X, Y, Z, then to me it would be a no-brainer if I was fired if I wasn't following the rules. And so there's two sides to it, and it's really difficult because for me, if you tell me something once and you tell me I need to do this and this is what my job is, I'm just going to do it without question. I don't make up my own rules. I don't go off on my own. If you tell me this needs done and you give me a list of things and this is what the job is, I'm going to do that and more, but I'll never do less, and I'll never step outside of those parameters. And so it's hard because in an environment if it's not going well, you really do have to decide who's valuable for the staff and the organization and who's not. Another thing you have to do is decide the kind of attitude you're going to have, because even if things are going awry, it's super important as the leader that no one notices that it's affecting you, so that it doesn't affect those that are participating in your organization or those you're interacting with. And just so you really do have to go in every single day, no matter what is going on in your life, and decide okay, this is how I'm going to feel. This is what we're going to do. Another thing that's super important once you've gone through the emotions of everything and you're progressing towards going back, like I just did, into a new environment that might be similar to something you've done before, is to plan and execute. So for me, after I took a really long time to rest and recover and really decide when this job was given to me, obviously I had done the work to earn it, it was a no-brainer that this is what I need to be doing. When I told my family I accepted the role, when it was offered to me, they literally said, well, of course, this is exactly what you should be doing. You need to be in a position of management and leadership. This is what you're meant for. It's hard. But I had a plan. And when I accepted the job offer, I told myself what I was going to do, what I was going to work on, and how I was going to present myself. And since accepting the job, I literally have never stopped working. There's always something I'm doing behind the scenes, whether it's creating a document, creating an image, coming up with ideas, planning different events. I can't turn my brain off because I'm fully aligned with where I'm supposed to be. And I feel when you are, that's the tricky thing, is the ideas just keep flowing. Positivity goes where it's when you're aligned, and so because I feel aligned with what I'm doing and I know I deserve this role, it's so easy to want to keep working, which again is that workaholic syndrome that I just struggle with stopping. But it's super important that when you do step into this role and you have a plan, you execute the plan, and you really make sure that that plan continues to have boundaries, because your boundaries are going to be tested, and you need to have a plan as to how you're going to conduct yourself and handle a situation when you're presented with something that's not working out well. Another thing that's really important, it might be the most important, is you need a support system. And so Friday, I was really struggling, and I really got in my head and just allowed my thoughts to just go in a direction that they shouldn't have gone. But I care, and it did, and it wasn't great. And I have my two friends that I literally talked to who had to just talk me down because I started to freak out that maybe I shouldn't be doing this again and maybe I didn't belong. And it was just one of those things where just you think you've done the work, but you haven't done the work yet. You got to keep doing the work. The work doesn't stop, especially when you're in a position of leadership. You need to have strong, broad shoulders. You really need to be able to hold yourself up, because it's not glamorous or fun to be in a leadership role. I'm going to be straight up honest. There's nothing sexy about this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that there's no recognition. It's so much to make things look flawless, and all people see is the end product. They don't have a clue just how much is going on behind the scenes to make that organization look flawless. And lastly, you need to have clear boundaries. You really need, especially in a position of leadership, to have clear boundaries. You need rules, expectations, and a plan if people don't follow them. And that's probably one of the hardest things about being a leader, is incorporating that plan when things don't align with what they need to, or if a problem arises, how are you going to handle it? And then you have to execute how you're going to handle it. And sadly, that might mean that you're not people's favorite person. And when you're in a leadership role, you can't be everybody's favorite person, because then people think they can walk all over you and treat you however they want to treat you. You really do have to kind of keep yourself at an arm's length distance so that they can respect you and understand you, but that they realize that there are limitations and boundaries and rules that must be followed in order for the processes to work properly and for them to remain employed. So if you are a woman in leadership, we're going to go over 5 ways that we downplay our success. And these are things or areas of focus that I want us both to work on. Because too often we do downplay our success because we're so afraid, especially in society. I wish I could tell you the amount of times when I was in my 20s and somebody would say, well, a man's not going to want to date somebody that's smarter than him. Okay, so why is that my problem? Or you're too driven. Somebody doesn't want to date somebody that's more successful than them or that's making more money than them. So why is that my problem? Honestly, being in my 30s has been so empowering, because it's not my problem if somebody's insecure. I'm never going to stop pushing myself. I'm never going to stop accomplishing things. I'm never going to stop working to make more money, because if I make more money, I can help more people. And that is my entire freaking mission in life. It's not our problem if a male feels insecure. So the first thing we're going to work on is downplaying our language. Too often women downplay their language. They say just, they say sorry. That downplays our impact. That downplays our ability to successfully lead our teams. We truly need to be mindful of the verbiage we are learning and stop downplaying our freaking success. Stop apologizing for who you are. Stop apologizing for how hard you work. If they don't work as hard as you, they need to step up their game. You are not in the wrong for doing the most, being the most, working the hardest. You don't need to apologize because people are half-assing their effort. That's their issue, not yours. So the first thing we need to do in order to step in our freaking power and to stop feeling lonely at the top is to stop using downplaying language. Number 2, not owning our success. We are so scared to share our vision for where we are going because of competition. And I know that in this podcast and other episodes, you've heard me talk about it. I don't share what I'm doing. And I didn't become like this until I moved to Tampa. Living in Tampa is toxic. And I hate to say that, but it's the God's honest truth. I've never met or faced so much drama, so many women that are catty, that talk about each other, so many people that are nice to your face and talk about you behind your back. And I've never met so many women that treat somebody's success as competition instead of just being genuinely happy for where they're going in life. I literally don't know what the hell is going on here, but I'm so sick of living here because of that. I love my life here, but anytime I do something good, I'm literally terrified to share it because somebody is always going to have something to say, and it's exhausting when you, in my position, I don't have parents. I don't have that normal support system for somebody at my age. I have been on my own for so many freaking years now. I literally kill myself some months working literally 20, 24 days in a row before having a day off just to make sure that I'm going to be financially secure. And it's hard because that's one of those things where you keep repeating the lessons you learn. I really hesitated to share this part of my story, but I literally had the most money I've ever had in my life in my bank account last week. I got paid from both of my jobs. I got paid for a consulting gig that I did. I earned 2 large company promotional gigs. I was filming a sunglass ad for a company. I can't even believe they know who I am. When I say I have the most money I've ever had in my life, I literally paid my rent and there was still a balance in my account and there was a comma. Now, there wasn't a double-digit number in front of that comma. Let's be real here. Your girl was still paying some serious debt. But I used to pay my rent and truly question how I was going to make it to the next paycheck. I put groceries on a credit card. I put gas on a credit card. I've literally had $0 to my name, and it wasn't that long ago. So for me, the way I hustle is a means to give me the stability that I don't have in a normal sense of life. It is something that gives me pride in working hard for the lifestyle that I have earned because I worked for it. And it also helps me to heal this constant fear that at any moment the other shoe's going to drop and something's coming my way that's going to ruin me financially. I literally have a savings account, I'm saving money. It's really freaking hard to own your success, especially I feel like coming from the world I came from and being what I've been through. I never thought this would be my life. I never thought I'd live in a place as beautiful as I live. I never thought that I would have all of these opportunities. I still question when brands this large reach out to me. I'm like, how do you even know who I am? But that's the reality of when you're making an impact and then you get an income that aligns with your efforts because you're just being a genuinely good human being. Whether that resonates with everybody or it doesn't, that's not your problem. But it's just crazy. Own your success. I deserve those checks. I just stared when they got deposited. I've never thought I could make that kind of money, but it was truly because I worked my ass off. I worked the most hours I've ever worked in my life last month. It was insane, but it was insanely worth it because look at the outcome. The third thing we need to work on is to stop overgiving and exhausting ourselves. Something that I really struggle with is being a people pleaser as a leader. I want everybody to feel loved, supported, respected, and heard. But sometimes because of that, I will give too much to people that don't deserve it, trying to win them over, when the reality is that's not what my job is. It's really hard to delegate when you have OCD and you're a perfectionist. I would rather just do everything so it's done right than allow somebody to do something, they do it wrong or not as well as they should have, and then I have to correct them. So what's really difficult with women specifically in leadership is that Not only are you juggling a corporate career, you're also usually juggling multiple things outside of your job, like your home, your family. For me, I juggle a podcast, a charity organization, and a whole ass other job. Like, your girl got a lot going on all of the time, and it can be really hard. So you have to make sure that you're not overgiving to your organization and you're not exhausting yourself as a result. Number 4, not being ourselves. We have to be mindful as women at the top in leadership to not to compromise ourselves to fit in. The fear of being called a bitch is a reality for me. I honestly literally can just not stop working. Like, my workaholic issue is definitely something that, like, being in this environment, I'm being forced to take days off, which is just wild to me. And I'm working on it. But I just am a very direct person. I guess that's a good way to say it. It's just direct. I don't sugarcoat shit because I came from a world that, like, if you were crying and there wasn't a bone out or blood, like, you kept it moving. And that's kind of how I've always seen life. Like, no matter how bad it got, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard I was grieving, no matter last year how much I was struggling with my brain injury at the beginning, or when I started having panic attacks at work because it got so awful, I kept it moving. And as a result of that, instead of allowing people to see me emotional or vulnerable, I just, like, get very stoic in my face. My face literally tightens, and you'll literally just hear me say, I'm fine. People, like, if they like, oh, but I'm fine, because I won't allow people to not see me at my best, because I feel like that is how people think that they can win, like, get one over on you, is when they get to see you be vulnerable. And because I have such serious trust issues after last year, I fear allowing anybody to see me be emotional, let alone over emotional. And so we have to be mindful that we're not changing who we are because of our environment. The last thing that women tend to downplay their success when they're in leadership is their self-beliefs and their perceptions. We create a distorted sense of self, and we will truly feel like we're not enough. When we made that video last week and I got ready to post it, I had major imposter syndrome. I was so afraid of certain opinions, or if people would think it was too much. Did we do too much? Even though it was, like, literally like freaking filming on a camera in a gym when it was empty at night. And, like, we filmed some stuff in my apartment. Like, it wasn't that like intense of, like, a whole development. It was just, I had a vision. My friend nailed it. We put it together. And I feel like it really reflected who I was as a person. And that's what was most important to me. But I really, I worried so much if that video was going to be enough. It was the first thing I did for, like, body fit training. It was the first thing with my name on it, like, truly just my name on it. And I wanted it to be done so well because I respect the people I work for so much that, like, I truly was concerned that it was not going to be enough, or it was going to be perceived as I was being too much. And so it's so hard being a woman at the top because you do get this distorted sense of self. You hear a lot of comments, a lot of opinions about you, what you're doing, what you should be doing. So many people think they can do it better. So many people think, oh, we'll just do this. It makes me laugh my ass off every time somebody says, oh, we'll just do this. As if anything is that simple in leadership or in life, honestly. But the reality is, for my fellow baddies out there, that there's a lot of benefits to having females as leaders. We have exceptional leadership skills. I have been rocking this life since I was a freaking young child. This was always the path. I was just really afraid to walk down it. The second thing that makes women great for leaders is that we know how to prioritize well-being. You can see the person as a whole, not just the job, which is super important in this day and age because of how messed up the world is. We are great at providing flexible work environments and adjusting when needed for our staff. We're naturally inclusive. And this is something I think I'm most proud about myself, is that because I changed schools, because I was bullied as a child, because I didn't fit in, I've just naturally always been an inclusive person, and I feel like that is a lot of females. And then also, we know how to forge strong, stable relationships. We know how to cultivate retention because of the way we build relationships. Being a woman in leadership and power is an amazing thing. We shouldn't have to downplay our success just because people are doing less than or they don't understand us. Just because we're female doesn't mean we're any less badass, less capable. We honestly are probably more capable because we can handle more than our counterparts, get it all done, do it with a smile on our freaking face, and keep it moving. And we're not easily shaken no matter what's going on in our lives. So when you ask yourself, is it lonely at the top? I would tell you that it's only lonely if you're not surrounded by the right people and those in your life aren't genuinely happy for you. Please understand something, my ladies out there doing the most. You are not bragging. It's just your life. Own your freaking life. Own who you are, own what you're doing, and stop feeling like you have to apologize because Sally down the street has something to say about you. What Sally says about you says more about her and has nothing to do about you. When people talk about us, that says everything you need to know about them because they have the time to talk about people. People in leadership, women who are successful, who are driven, we don't have time to talk about people because we got a list of things to do that never ends. Those who have the time aren't doing enough. Those that don't have the time are doing the most. So along the way, guys, people will perceive you however they want to perceive you. And it's going to be different than the way that you truly are. And that's okay because we're evolving. Those who are in leadership, especially females, evolve over time. We adapt. We handle the most. And so if somebody perceives you differently than who you are, okay, that's on them. You keep it moving. You know who you are. You know what you're doing. You know, you're going to lose people along the way. I think this is one of the hardest things for me is I'm so used to having, like everybody says, she has so many freaking friends. And it's true. Like, I don't know, strangers are always talking to me and I love it. But when you start to rise and you start to really put distance between you and those around you because you are naturally just doing more, you're going to lose people. But let me tell you something. You don't ever lose the right people. You just lose the people who aren't aligned with where you're going. And that's not a bad thing because oftentimes you're losing people who are jealous. You're losing the people who are talking shit about you. You can't take it personal. And I wish I had a mirror in front of me because I could have used this like 1,000 times over in the last year of my life. It's not your business what people have to say about you. I always tell people their opinions don't pay my bills. When they pay my bills, we'll talk and I'll give a shit. But until you pay my bills, I don't care. You, the person on the other end of this, are probably like me. And we have worked our asses off to be this version of ourselves. I literally didn't think I was going to be alive last year. If you would have told me that I would be where I'm at today, last year, I truly would have like hysterically laughed in your face, to be quite honest. We have done everything. We've gone above and beyond. We have killed ourselves literally and figuratively to be this version of ourselves. We will make friends with people who are on our level and will continue to feel more fulfilled because it'll be reciprocated. If you put something out there on social media, so to speak, is a great example, and you see all of the people, this is something I struggle with. I see how many people view my stuff every single freaking day. And I can see all of that when you have a professional dashboard on Instagram and you realize how many people didn't even engage. That like seriously upsets me so much because it makes me so freaking sad that somebody literally views your content and can't even be bothered to click like. But the reality is when you evolve and you let go and you lose the people you need to lose, and then you see how many people are hyping your shit up. Like I saw that video yesterday, how many views and likes it got and comments. It's unreal to me because over 3,000 people have viewed it. We're closing in on like 150 people liking it. I don't even know how many comments anymore. And I only share those metrics because for every person that didn't view it, that didn't comment, that just like, didn't support it, there are thousands of other people that did. And it's just insane to me how many people have DM'd me since that video came out and said, you deserve this. This is where you belong. It's about damn time, Gina. Like you're finally getting what you deserve. The right people will reciprocate and will be genuinely happy for you. And what's nice is when you lose people, you make room for new people. And new people bring new things, like networking in social circles that the previous people could not. You're never going to lose those who genuinely care about you. And I learned that this weekend. I realized who's in my corner and who's not. And it was one of the most reassuring roller coaster situations because I realized just how supported I am. And I didn't feel so lonely at the top anymore. So as we're going into the end of this episode, I have two things. I want you, and myself included, to replace our imposter syndrome, thoughts, experiences, and feelings with people, thoughts, and new experiences, opportunities that will elevate us, that will push us to be even better, that will push us to go further than we already are right now. Replace all of that nonsense with people, experiences, and thoughts that will forge the new path because we're not done yet. We literally are just getting started. And the second thing, it doesn't have to be lonely at the top. You just need to build your own damn tribe and take those by the hand that want to go farther, want to do more, that want to celebrate each other's success. Bless and release those who are jealous, who can't be happy for you, who don't belong in your life, who aren't genuine. And when you do and you wash your hands clean of your past because you continue to do the work to heal, and you literally lock arms with those whose direction is facing the same way you're going, you'll be so shocked at how much happier, healthier, and genuine quality of your life will exceed all expectations. Sometimes people are in your life for a reason. Sometimes they're in your life for a season. You can always be grateful for every person, circumstance, and experience you've been through. But realize, if people in your life can't be what you need them to be, and they can't support you, you know what you need to do. You can always bless and release and be happy for them, but be happy from a distance. All right, y'all. As always, I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I want to get back to making sure I'm doing the giveaways. And I think I have officially, I've said this, I got the mics, I figured it out, I've been talking in my podcast group. I think we're going to launch a video episode this month. So y'all, stay tuned because we're going to chat soon.